Howdy, hi everybody. Sam Goodman bringing you another episode of Really Fucking Scary Stories. How are you doing today? I hope that you are doing absolutely amazing wherever you find yourself in this creepy and weird world. Things are going great for us. We are broadcasting to you from the beautiful and the sunny downtown Phoenix, Arizona for now. So let me talk about this before we go too much farther into today's episode. Coming up next month, we are going to do our first ever of many, let's say that, our first ever of more to come, haunted road trips. So let me explain exactly what we're going to be doing. So this is going to be super duper cool. So we're going to start here kind of more local to Arizona because I don't know, I just think it's cool to explore some of my own backyard. I've lived in Arizona, myself, my family, my significant other. We've lived in Arizona for about 10 years now. And I don't know, we haven't really dug into too many spots local. We always seem to kind of leave. And that kind of sort of sucks, I think. Right? Shame on me, right? Shame on us for not kind of digging in more locally to some of this stuff. So before, let me get off that entire side rant and actually tell you what the plan is. So next month, middle of next month, we're going to basically depart here in Phoenix, Arizona, and we're going to explore 3 cities in southern Arizona. We're going to go to these cities to explore haunted hotspots. And not just haunted. There's going to be some true crime stuff in there too. There's going to be some other stuff there. I don't want to give too much away beforehand, but we're going to Tucson. We're going to be staying a night in Tucson. We're going to Bisbee, Arizona, and we're going to Tombstone, Arizona. We're going to be staying a night in each of those locations. In Bisbee and Tombstone, we've got some really cool places that we're planning on staying. So fingers crossed, I'm not going to promise anything. Fingers crossed our locations work out. But either way, the plan is this. We're going to podcast to you from those haunted locations, from those true crime locations possibly as well. So that's the plan. We're taking the podcast on the road, middle of next month, and we're going to do on-location podcasting. And let's see what happens. There we go. I think it's going to be absolutely awesome. We're going to sit down, we're going to set everything up, and we're going to tell the stories of the places that we're at, of the cities that we're in, and of quite possibly the rooms and hotels that we're staying in. Fingers crossed that we do this live as well. So you'll have the opportunity in one way or another. We're going to stream this. So let me just say that one way or another, we will stream this. You will be able to join us live for those folks that want to tune in and do some sneak peeking. Okay, let me shut up about that. I'm just super excited about it, if you can't tell. Let me go a little bit farther because we just released episode 1 last week, and I haven't got to really tell you much of the structure of this. Other than that, there's not a lot of that. So I'll just repeat that a little bit and say there's not a lot of structure with these podcasts. We're really just going to do what we want to do that's fun, like haunted road trips. We've got this one planned for the middle of next month. We're planning one probably for the following month to explore some more stuff in northern Arizona. So there's a little tickler, a little clue for you there. But we're going to continue with these mini-series. There we go, of haunted road trip. So that's going to be kind of a standing thing. My significant other, the love of my life, if you will, Jarrell, he's going to be involved in these podcasts as well. I know you've just got to hear my lovely voice so far, but we're going to be doing a lot of this together, obviously. Right? So I'm going to record some episodes. He's going to record some episodes. And then hopefully the vast majority of the stuff that we end up recording will be together. But there you go. I wanted to lay out some of that. We're bringing in a bunch of special guests and a bunch of other stuff too, kind of as we keep this thing going. So there's a lot of the kind of update for you, episode 2 update junk. haunted road trips, structure of the podcast, all kinds of cool stuff happening. Oh yeah, do me a favor, head over and like palehorsemediaco. Go check that out on Instagram, on LinkedIn, on pretty much anywhere where you can like and love stuff, that kind of cool stuff. That's a really easy way to follow along with us. And if you have a haunted story that you would like to submit, or a true crime story that you would like to tell on the air, or like us to tell on the air, go over to palehorsemediaco.com and use that handy dandy submission box thing and just send it to us there. And we'll read it. And if you don't want us to read it and you want to, you can do that too. But I've been rambling, but it's been good rambling because there's awesome stuff that's coming up. So I'm going to shut up and I'm going to dive into today's macabre adventure of sin eating. I give easement and rest now to thee, dear man. Come not down the lanes or in our meadows, and for thy peace I pawn my own soul. Amen. That's the normal prayer that a sin eater would often say while performing this ritualistic sin eating. But let's back up and start with this. What the fuck is a sin eater? Right? I mean, that's kind of where my mind starts. When I first heard that term, it kind of just gives you those little chill bumps when you just hear sin eater. You either think of that or you think of some really killer metal band. I don't know. I don't know if there's a band called Sin Eater. I hope so. I should know that. I think I should have looked that up before now. But there's your homework for today. Go check out Spotify for Sin Eater. I don't know. But let's start there. What the fuck is a sin eater? A sin eater is basically a person who consumes a ritual meal in order to spiritually take on the sins of a deceased person. So the food within the meal was thought to actually absorb the sins of that dead person, thus absolving them of those sins and transferring that burden to the sin eater. So basically damning the sin eater. The sin eater basically carried the sins of all those motherfuckers that they feasted upon, I guess, which would be the right way to put it. But let's go back a little bit more. So you can trace the roots of sin eating back into Aztec cultures, Egyptian cultures, kind of all over the place, all the way back to those silly Greeks, right? It goes way back. But I think one of the more common manifestations of sin eating that I think we should talk about, or pseudo sin eating, is the dude himself, the long-haired hippie dude with a big heart in his own book, Jesus Christ. Right? Think about it. It's he's right there, right? It's the same kind of sort of thing, right? He's basically pawning his own life for the sins of others, right? The sin eater just kind of did this without the cross and the nails and kind of all the other stuff. They did it with some bread and some not so great wine or ale, right? And that's what we're going to talk about now. The actual ritual of sin eating. So imagine yourself living in England, Scotland, Wales, one of those cool places back in the 19th century. You have a loved one that has died, and maybe they did not live the most fantastic life in the eyes of the church, or in the eyes of God, I guess would be a better way to put it. And maybe they died with some sin that they had not yet dealt with or resolved. Cue the sin eater, your friendly local sin eater. The sin eater would basically come in and actually have a feast atop the corpse. So yes, an actual ritualistic feast on top of the dead body. So let's talk a little bit about the sin eater themselves. So often the sin eater, the person that is the sin eater, is not the most high-standing person in the community. A lot of times they're doing this just for the few scraps of kind of gross food that they're going to get out of it, and a little bit of payment, like a very, very small payment. So they're going to get basically a little bread, a little L, and a shiny new penny, right? It's not going to be a lot, but we're talking folks that are homeless, that can't make ends meet, kind of all that sort of stuff. Because again, close your eyes, unless you're driving, that's a bad idea. But close your eyes and imagine, that you really believe in this shit, right? You really believe this, right? You really believe that by doing this act, you are literally taking on the sins of another, and you're going to damn your soul to hellfire for all eternity, more than likely. I don't know. That doesn't seem like a great deal. You have to be in a really, really tough spot. You really have to be starving in most cases, or you must be in real need of that little shiny penny to really make ends meet for that offer to sound appealing. So the gig economy used to really fucking blow. That's what it sounds like. The gig economy has gotten much cooler. The jobs have gotten much better in more recent times. So the sin eater, again, not someone that's in super high standing in the community, and usually performing this macabre and creepy task out of sheer desperation and the need for survival. So let's talk a little bit about what this looks like. From the 1911 version of the Encyclopedia Britannica, there's an article on sin eaters. And it goes on to say this: a symbolic survival of sin eating was witnessed as recently as 1893 at Market Drayton. After a preliminary service had been held over the coffin in the house, a woman poured out a glass of wine for each bearer and handed it to him across the coffin with a funeral biscuit. In Upper Bavaria, sin eating still survives. A corpse cake is placed on the breast of the dead and then eaten by the nearest relative. In other places, a small bread image of the deceased is made and eaten by the survivors of the family. There is also versions called dead cakes, in which these cakes are marked with the initials of the deceased. And these were introduced in America in the 17th century. They were long given to attendants at funerals in old New York. The burial cakes, which are still made in parts of rural England, for example, are almost certainly a relic of sin eating. So the next time you have a hankering for one of those scrummy funeral biscuits, just know that where they have their roots deep into this ritualistic sin eating. So let's talk about what that actually looked like. So let's just rewind to 18th, 19th century, way back then in England, Scotland, Wales. You have somebody die. Maybe they didn't necessarily live their life to the best, or maybe they were a child, or maybe they were just a person that got some sin in and didn't have an opportunity to get a tune-up with the priest or whatever before they met their maker. You would call in the friendly sin eater, your local sin eater, your community professional devourer of sin. And this person would come in, and the family would be grieving. It would be this kind of normal funeral thing. But things would take a kind of weird, eerie turn. They would basically place a piece of bread on the chest of the deceased. They would call for the sin eater to come over and sit there. And they're basically using your loved one's corpse as kind of a really fucked up picnic table, I guess would be the best way to look at it. It's a macabre picnic with your dead Uncle Ron, I guess. I don't know. I don't know where Ron came from, but you get what I'm saying. The ritual often involved, ale or wine. Again, that kind of weird funeral biscuit or funeral cake, or this kind of weird stale bread. They're not doing like really good, you're not getting like a funeral cheesecake, I guess is what I'm trying to say. You're getting like some really kind of old stale something. I guess the stale bread absorbs the sins better. I don't know how